Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, September 25. If you are watching live on Monday, September 25, we encourage you to call in if you have comments or questions. Our call-in number is 769-1677. Our next scheduled meeting is Monday, October 9 at 8 with a work session at 7. As always, you can watch us live on Cablevision or Verizon Cable TV or at pctv76.org. And within a few days, pick up a live webcast of this. A taped webcast of this and previous meetings at pctv76.org. Org. I was right the first time. pctv76.org. A few announcements to make since we last met. One important point for folks to be aware of is we've received a lobbying request from the New York Council of Mayors. I know the same thing is true of the Association of Towns, focusing on the fact that there are some draft proposals in Washington, D.C. That have the potential to affect the deductibility of state and local taxes on your federal tax return. Under the current circumstances, as most of us are aware, the taxes you pay within your community and to the state are deductible on your federal tax return. And the result of that is you have a significant savings on your federal tax that somewhat offsets the tax you pay locally. There are proposals in Washington to eliminate that deductibility, and that is a matter of significant concern in states like New York. You can Google around and read about the implications of this, but I think it's pretty clear that despite the fact that New York is a disproportionate beneficiary of this federal tax deduction, New York is a net provider of funds to Washington, not a net user. That is to say, the tax dollars sent to Washington exceed the federal benefits that come back to New York State. That's not true of every state, and certainly not true of some states that would not be particularly affected by the loss of the deductibility. So the loss of deductibility for state and local taxes would be a huge impact on folks in communities like this, and we strongly encourage everybody who has an opinion on that subject to voice it to your congressional delegation. I think it's clear that the folks that represent this region are already on record as seeking to defend the deductibility of those taxes, but the more people have weighed in, the clearer it is that this is a significant issue and affects a whole lot of people. So I encourage anyone who is so inclined to reach out to their various representatives and weigh in on the subject. Wanted to report that we met in work session just before this regular meeting with two folks, Phil Myrick, who lives in Pleasantville and is a professional planner with very long experience, and Jamie Maslin Larson, who is a landscape architect now with a firm called Wagner Hodgson, she based in their Hudson, New York office. This is a little more formal discussion of a proposal that we've talked about for the last couple of months about engaging Phil and Wagner Hodgson to assist us in conceptualizing and then designing the new park or plaza that we propose to build at the north end of Memorial Plaza. That's all part of the Manville Road streetscape improvements, as you will recall if you were a part of some of our earlier meetings. The village was successful in earning a New York State grant, which actually federal funds managed by New York State, of a little over $1.5 million. The village's share to match is $750,000. So we have $2.25 million to undertake the streetscape improvements along Manville Road that we have talked about for quite so many years. There will be a public process attached to the idea of what the park at the north end of Memorial Plaza may turn into. We're talking about the area near the war monuments. One of the things that's of interest and of some concern to some folks is the proposal to remove the right-hand turn lane that exists from the current commuter side, where you can take that elbow right-hand turn and come up on the bridge. The plans that we have in draft right now replace that area with a park and reconfigure the traffic patterns within Memorial Plaza so everybody comes back out at the traffic light. So we'll have lots more to say about that, but I think all of us were enthusiastic about what we heard tonight from Phil and Jamie. We're likely to engage them, and the next step along that process will be a public visioning process where we'll encourage folks who are interested to weigh in on the kinds of uses they might imagine in that location so that we can start to tease out a program and then ultimately turn that into a design. So it's an exciting opportunity, one that we're obviously anxious to make right, and very much convinced that Phil and Jamie look like a great team to help us achieve that. So more on that later, and we'll post stuff up on the website as it develops. I want to give a shout out to Patty and to the folks in the rec department for yeoman service in helping solve the over-enrollment problem with the after-school program at BRS called the Panther Club. No small effort to address the license, to address the space issues, to address the staff issues, and ultimately to accommodate the folks who looked like they would be on the wait list. Also a shout out to the school district who provides the space for the Panther Club and who, as always, was ready, willing, and able to try to help puzzle out this problem and make it work. So a really happy result. I want to remind people again what we said at the when we announced this the last time, that we've been successful at increasing from 100 kids to about 125. Is that the number we're at, Patty?
I think we're closer to 130.
Right, 130, something like that. But we are pretty confident, based on the review we've gone through, that we cannot get bigger than that. There are a whole series of logistical problems attached to that. And so happily, we've been able to accommodate the demand right now. And if the demand doesn't significantly change, we ought to be fine going forward. But it is important for folks to note that I don't think that another expansion from the position we're in right now is in the cards. So everybody should be aware of that.
Not only the regulations, but just this, as you said, the school's been very generous with their space. But there's a lot of things going on in the school, you know, also. So I think we've acquired as much space as you know they can afford in order for them to do all the things that they need to do too. So.
Farm market rocking and rolling as always. It continues through the weekend before Thanksgiving and then goes inside to the middle school in December. Really great stuff there right now, the fall harvest. We encourage you to get there, 8:30 to 1 every Saturday morning at Memorial Plaza. I spoke about the Manville Road streetscape. We warned you, those of you who have signed up for our Code Red emergency call, that there would be a test call that Patty arranged a week or so ago, the results of which are that the Code Red system, which is an emergency call system that allows us to reach you in whatever way you choose, sent out 690 emails, 767 text messages, 3,598 phone calls, of which 28% were answered live. Thank you, thank you. So all good news, but another opportunity to remind folks that if you haven't already done this, please go to pleasantville-ny.gov, left-hand column, click on Code Red, and sign up. It's that setting where you can choose to be contacted by email, by text message, by landline, by cell line. You can even provide a phone number outside this area in the event that phones were knocked out of service. We learned during Hurricane Superstorm Sandy how difficult it is to stay in touch with people and update them on what's going on when lots of folks are out of power. The Code Red system is a way that we can track people down. So I really, 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 really encourage you to sign up for that. The county health department asked us to report that free flu shots are going to be available. You need to register in advance at health.ny.gov/go-to-clinic. That's GO numeral 2 clinic. health.ny.gov/go-to-clinic. Any Westchester College student can get a flu shot at the community college, but adults can sign up ages 3 and above by going to that website. So if that's of interest, please do so. Last thing on my list was the American Legion Post in Hawthorne. I'm sorry, the American Legion Post in Hawthorne is working with the American Legion Post in Pleasantville on a proposal to do a Veterans Day concert. And so It would be a free concert. The venue is at Pleasantville High School. Veterans Day falls on Saturday, November 11, and the current plans, posters will be going up soon, we'll have more to say about it soon, is a Veterans Day concert that would be free for folks with some professional musicians, as well as the chance to honor veterans on Veterans Day. So more on that later, but keep an eye out, and we'll also post the information about that on our website. Anybody else have reports to make?
I do. Anybody else? So this Saturday at the library, Pleasantville Strong and the Mount Pleasant Library are going to be hosting a youth mental health first aid class. It's a fabulous class. It's 8 hours, and it basically helps you to diagnose and triage any youth that's experiencing a mental health crisis. Just like we all are trained in CPR, this is sort of the same vein, that there is very specific things that you can do to assist a youth. And that starts at 9 o'clock. And again, Pleasantville Strong is picking up the cost of it, and I'm teaching it. So we invite anybody to come. You can just register. You can go online to pleasantvillestrong.org. You can go to the library's website, or you can go to our Facebook page.
Excellent.
Okay.
Why don't you make a picture about the Facebook page? We'll
Yeah,
never miss a
well,
chance there.
Should make sure we post that on ours.
I can send you the. Oh,
Yeah.
We have to make sure that Strong's linked. Did we link it? Well, I'll take care of it
I'll
afterwards.
make sure
Okay.
that's linked.
Yeah.
Ready?
All right. Next on our agenda with liaison reports. Did you have a report about the library, Joe?
I do. So in my role as library liaison, I met with the library board on the 13th of September. It was a regular meeting. And as you all know, we are fortunate that it's actually the Mount Pleasant Library has their main library building in the middle of town, right near the schools, and it's terrific. But and certainly we encourage anybody who likes libraries, wants to use libraries, or doesn't use libraries much, to start using the library, because it's really a great asset to the village. But there's a problem that has developed. It's developed over a number of years, and that is the problem of kids after school between 2:30 and 3 o'clock congregating at the library, not really so much for the purpose of using the library, but more for the purpose of being picked up by their parents. And it has become a real hazard. And you know, kids doing what they do, and they're not bad kids, but they're running around in the parking lot, and there are cars, and then of course folks coming and using the library parking lot as a pickup point in a parking lot that can't accommodate that many cars. So there are a number of solutions that were discussed. Perhaps a reconfiguration of the parking lots, and perhaps some closures. It's going to be looked into of the parking lot after school during certain hours. It's going to be looked into in more detail, and we're going to come up with some solutions. But the most important thing I wanted to express to our community is that the library is not a pickup point for your kids. You should pick up your kids at school or have them walk home or whatever it may be, but the library cannot accommodate, you know, a lot of kids running around in a parking lot. It's a dangerous situation, and we're afraid that somebody's going to get hit and get hurt. And there's the other sort of ancillary thing where, you know, kids running in and out of the library and being a little bit noisy, and a library is a quiet place where people want to read. Certainly, if you want your kid to go to the library after school and study, if they can do that, you know, maturely, they're welcome. They should go to the library, but just to be picked up, it's a dangerous situation. So please, if it's your habit or you're accustomed to have your child meet you at the library, you know, we urge you to stop doing that, to pick up your child at the school where they're supposed to be picked up, or have them walk home, or walk further from the school and pick them up at a friend's house, or whatever it may be if they don't have an after-school activity. So please do that. And again, I'll report more when we determine exactly what we're going to be, what the library is going to be doing to help sort of quell that situation. Additionally, on a lighter note, the library is going to be having the Mount Pleasant Public Library 50th anniversary celebration on Saturday, October 7th, 2017. There are going to be a lot of activities and games and storytelling and things like that at the library. Keep your eye open for the flyer. It should be a fun day, and help to encourage people to love libraries.
Thank you, Joe. Any further comment on that?
Can I just mention the PRAB meeting?
Please, yeah.
So on September 6th, we had our PRAB meeting, which is for Parks and Rec. The meeting was held at the Recreation Center, which is right down the road. A good meeting with representatives from really all of the sports organizations. We did talk about the Panther Club and got that information out because several of the folks there weren't really understanding exactly, you know, what some of the complications were. We also had a really good conversation about folks who volunteer to coach and some issues that have come up with troubled coaches and troubled parents, and how do the people who run the sports organizations best deal with that. We referred one particular incident to obviously Chief Grutzner, and have talked about, and Prab is going to put together, would like to come in front of this board, some suggestions on trainings and different prerequisites that they think coaches, and particularly head coaches, have for the organizations. We also talked about the pool and the fact that at the end of the summer they lose an awful lot of lifeguards because kids go back to school. So one of the things we talked about was sponsoring the class to become a lifeguard, and doing that at a discount if you're employed. So that was one of the ideas that we floated. The other was, and we had talked about this, they do these at the shore points, is offering bonuses for people who stay, you know, through like Labor Day, that you get a kickback on that. So Lori has put together, and actually it's very effective, because even if you could just get them back weekends, if it's worth it, you know, to someone who's not too far away, it would be worth it to come. So Lori was going to put all those things together, but they're just posting up the rest of the calendar. But it was a great meeting, and they'd like to come back and talk about the coaching requirements. One of them was the youth mental health. They thought that that would be something that would be extremely valuable to coaches, and you know, how we sort of pursue that. So
Great, thank you for that.
okay, yep.
Patty and I, a couple of weeks ago, attended the Westchester Municipal Officials Dinner, which took place in Pelham. And the speakers that evening were a couple of folks who are the volunteer leaders of a composting program that has been established in Scarsdale. And it was really quite an impressive story, where I think they have something north of 800 households already participating in a voluntary composting program that in its initial iteration, for a modest fee of about $25, you can buy from the government a pair of composting buckets, a bigger one that is the storage one, and a smaller one, which is a countertop item. Each of them come with compostable bags, and you collect food scraps in the countertop thing, and when it's full, tie it up and throw it into the bigger one. The bigger one seals nicely, and when that's full, you take that sealed container down to the Scarsdale Public Works Department, where they have a series of what look like large wheeled dumpsters, and you dump yours into theirs and go back and start the process again. So by their report, it's worked out extremely well. Within the home, you're dumping stuff into a bag. The bag is full. You tie it up. You put it in the storage one. Absent a bag breaking, it's all very clean, no smell, no trouble. And it collects in these bins down at the Scarsdale DPW, and periodically a contractor comes and picks it up and takes it off for composting. So a pretty impressive effort, and they've already quite a few tons of compostable stuff, not just food scraps, but also pretty much bones and paper goods, paper towels, all that kind of stuff can go in. Purely voluntary in Scarsdale, and they're talking at the moment about whether they could create a curbside pickup mechanism, but that is to be considered in the future. But really, I certainly was very impressed by the program. There's almost no downside to doing it. The Scarsdale DPW superintendent said he made a presentation as part of this, and said he had his suspicions about this, and it has worked out absolutely seamlessly. So interesting to think. The folks in Scarsdale are happy to come and make a presentation. Lori Rogers Smalley, councilwoman in Mount Pleasant, was there, and she was interested as well, and we may end up with a joint presentation from the folks at Scarsdale in both communities. But as a kickoff, a voluntary composting effort seems like a great scheme. So really an impressive program, and one that I certainly would like to make available in Pleasantville to folks who are interested in doing it. So more on that as it evolves. Anybody else have anything? to report. Any comment from the public on any subject whatsoever? Our call-in number is 769-1677. All right, we have a series of resolutions. The most significant of one is number 162, which is adoption of the zoning text amendments. That has been the subject of much discussion, and our last meeting, public hearing, many comments were received. We've actually had 2 public hearings on the subject. There are a bunch of cleanup items associated with the general code, but the core piece of this is enacting some of the new regulations that were envisioned by the master plan. The key and most prominent piece of it would be to increase to 4 stories the maximum height of buildings in the block that includes the post office, bounded by Cooley Street, Bedford Road, Memorial Plaza, and Manville Road. That is currently a 3-story maximum height, which is true elsewhere in the A1 Business District, and what we propose and have on for vote tonight is the decision to increase it to 4. So Susan Favati of BFJ Planning is here, and we've been through some modest evolution of the text since the public hearing based on the comments. The key point being stripping out some of the changes we talked about for accessory buildings, which were really the subject of the most concern. That's a matter to be addressed another day. But Susan, if you could just walk people quickly through what has changed since we last spoke.
Sure. There are about 3 sets of changes, basically, since the September 11th public hearing. And the first 2 do deal with the accessory issue, which was in the category of cleanup issues. So the first is on the definition of accessory building. That last sentence, which was proposed to be added, which dealt with the human occupancy use of accessory buildings, and it gave some examples of things that would not be permitted in accessory buildings. That sentence has been struck in the latest proposal because the feeling was that there really needed to be more discussion about that to have an understanding of how that might affect people. So in the latest version, it basically reverts to the current definition. So no change to the definition.
Right.
Of
So just to be clear, this is the discussion about converting a garage to an office, a studio, a house, a guest house, or whatever. We've removed the new language. It's essentially the same as it always was, which, just to be clear, says that you cannot use an accessory building for human habitation.
Right. The sentence just gave examples
Right.
and specifics, but the
Right.
core that exists now would remain unchanged.
So our reason for doing that obviously was to respond to the concerns people had, and as Susan already mentioned, to engage the community in a discussion about whether and how that piece of the code should change.
Right. And related to that, there was another set of changes on accessory buildings, which took place in nearly all of the residential districts, except for the campus office, which actually I don't even think allows residential. But all the residential districts had added, under prior proposals, to there was a previous prohibition on using accessory buildings for human habitation. And then again, it elaborated what that means, such as living, sleeping, cooking, eating, or studio, gym, recreation type uses. So that language has been struck. So it would revert to the current existing zoning, which still says that these structures should not be used for human habitation, period. So again, there would be no change to the existing zoning with the latest. The last change is more substantive with regard to the downtown. I think that's the meat of it, really. And like Peter just said, it clarifies the area where the 4th story would be allowed under the proposed zoning to just the block, basically across Memorial Plaza, bounded by including the post office, bounded by Manville, Cooley, Bedford, and Memorial Plaza. It explicitly says that this does not include Memorial Plaza itself, and it takes out the reference to a figure in the master plan which had included Memorial Plaza. So it makes clear that at this time, under the proposed zoning, it's only the block that includes the post office. And that's it. Everything else remains as it was prior to September 11th.
Right. So shout out to Kathy Fox, who was one of the speakers at the last public hearing, and then who followed up with me for her careful reading of that, just to clarify that point. That in the hypothetical that the village should consider a building lot on Memorial Plaza, which is at the moment not in the cards at all, but is one of the things that was discussed as a potential project possibility in the master plan. If and when that should happen, at the moment, it's a 3-story maximum height, and we would need to change the zoning in that area if we were proposing to sell a parcel and to allow 4 stories. So neither of those things are on the radar screen right now, and thanks to Kathy for pointing out that to make crystal clear exactly what it all entails. So any further comment on that? Questions, whatever? So wanted to give that clarity up front so that Susan can be relieved of duty and go home.
Oh, I don't get to see the vote.
You're welcome to stay for the
Stay,
vote.
please.
Yeah, I'm not getting rid of you, but you do have a ways to go to get home, so. All right, to the resolutions, number 158. Nicole.
Okay. Resolved that the pre-check register dated September 25, 2017 is hereby approved as listed below. For the fiscal year 2017-18, from the general fund, $234,269.88. Trust agency fund, $1,482. Water fund, $22,203.70. Capital fund, $584. Refuse fund, $14,700.47, for a total of $273,240.05.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions about the check register? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Steve, 159.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from Michael Newman, Recreation Supervisor, to attend the National Parks and Recreation Maintenance Management School in West Virginia at a cost of $1,886.84.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'd just like to say, Mike went to this last year and came and gave us a report of the goings-on, and it was clear that it was
a great idea.
a very useful thing. And I would also like to make clear, we have a memo that backs this up from Linda Belafato, our superintendent, that reports that Mike Newman received the Dr. Sal Prezioso Professional Fellowship Award from the Westchester Recreation and Park Society, which provides $550 to go towards the tuition and hotel. So that $1,886 cost is been reduced by this fellowship award that Mike received. So congratulations to Mike.
Yeah.
And look forward to hearing the report about the school. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Colleen, 160.
All right, so I'm going to read this whole thing.
Probably
I
a
think
good
so.
I
idea.
think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas the Pleasantville Village Board adopted an master plan update to its 1995 master plan as amended on January 9, 2017. And whereas said master plan update was prepared in accordance with New York State Village law and provides a guide for land use and development decisions, the adoption of municipal regulations, and the investment of public funds for infrastructure. And whereas the master plan update made a number of recommendations for zoning code revisions, particularly focused on the central business district to advance the following planning objectives. Maintain the quality and character of Pleasantville's residential neighborhoods, promote a diversity of housing choices for current and prospective residents of varied ages and incomes, expand the tax base in order to support a high level of services while maintaining the village's attractiveness for both residential and business development, support the village business districts, especially the downtown, so that they may serve the village and area residents, provide employment, contribute to the village's tax revenue, and provide a source of community identify and pride. Attract visitors to Pleasantville for shopping, culture, and leisure. Promote an attractive appearance through harmonious architectural treatment of structures, sign control, landscaping, and streetscaping, and through the establishment of community gateways and focal points. And whereas on January 7, 2017, the village contracted with its planning consultant, BFGA Planning, to amend provisions of the A1 zoning district to implement key provisions of the master plan update. And whereas BFJ initiated work on the zoning code revisions in February 2017 and met regularly with the village board through May 2017 to develop said amendments. And whereas all such meetings with the village board were open to the public and duly noticed, and whereas in conjunction with the A1 district zoning amendments, the village's building inspector suggested a number of minor revisions to village-wide zoning provisions in order to clarify certain provisions. And whereas in May 2017, BFJ prepared a set of draft zoning amendments incorporating the A1 revisions as well as changes suggested by the building inspector. And whereas the village board directed BFJ to complete part 1 of a environmental assessment form pursuant to SECRA, and said EAF part 1 was submitted to the village on May 3, 2017. And whereas the village board declared itself lead agency for this action and authorized the circulation of the EAF and draft plan to the Westchester County Department of Planning and the Village Planning Commissioner. And whereas the Westchester County Department of Planning issued a letter dated June 26, 2017, pursuant to its review under the provisions of Section 239 L, M, and N of the General Municipal Law, and a section of the County Administrative Code stating that the proposed zoning amendments were consistent with the County Planning Board's long-range planning policies set forth in Westchester 2025, which is context for county municipal planning and policies to guide county planning. Whereas the Village Board held a public hearing on the proposed zoning amendments on June 26, 2017, at which time all those wishing to be heard were given an opportunity to be heard. As whereas the Village Board directed BFJ to complete an EAF Parts 2 and 3 pursuant to SECRA, and said EAF Parts 2 and 3 were submitted to the Village Board on June 30th, 2017. Whereas the Village Board accepted written comments on the proposed zoning amendments for a period of 2 weeks after the close of the public hearing. Whereas subsequent to the June 26, 2017 public hearing, the Village Board determined that revisions to the proposed zoning amendments were necessary to respond to comments received during the public hearing process, including comments from the Planning Commission, and directed BFJ to draft such additional revisions. Whereas the Westchester County Department of Planning issued a letter dated July 24, 2017, pursuant to its review under the provisions of Section 239 of the General Municipal Law, and affirming receipt of the revised zoning amendments and stating that it had no further comments. Whereas the Village Board held a second public hearing on the proposed zoning amendments on September 11th, 2017, to reflect additional revisions on the proposed amendments, at which time all those wishing to be heard were given an opportunity. Whereas the Village Board adopted a negative declaration on September 11th, 2017, with respect to the adoption of the proposed zoning amendments, and found that based upon the information contained in the full EAF, the proposed action will not have any significant adverse impacts on the environment. No environmental impact statement, which is an EIS, needs to be prepared, and the SECRA process is complete. And whereas based on comments received at the September 11th public hearing, the Village Board directed its consultants to revise the proposed zoning amendments, and such additional revisions constitute a more limited scope than the amendments as previously proposed. Now therefore it be resolved that the Pleasantville Village Board hereby adopts the proposed zoning amendments effective today, September 25th, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeoman service.
Well
there.
read.
Impressive. So, much has been said. Is there anything further to say?
I just want to again say that there was quite a bit of feedback about the accessory apartments at our previous meeting. And that was, I think, changed to reflect what the comments were, that we, weren't sort of telling people what they could and couldn't do in those apartments. So it now was struck and just says about habitation, and it limits it there.
Leaves it to what it was before.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we'll have to revisit
We're
that
gonna have to.
discussion.
We will, but just
for
for
the moment,
this purpose.
For the moment,
Off the table.
off the table
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. Lots of discussion to be had.
Yeah.
So, any further comment?
No.
All in
Wait,
favor?
wait.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
I was just going to underscore the objectives section to bring people's awareness to the rationale behind this move. I put out a short statement on my personal board Facebook page today, just to address the fact that I know that certain members of the community have some anxiety about the development that's happening, and I just tried to address the issue of well, first of all, to sort of speak to some extent on behalf of the board, to say that everyone on the board is cognizant of the need to move cautiously, and this exemplifies this because of the very limited scope of what we're addressing here, and tried to outline the importance that I think that this will have for the community as a whole. So I would say to anyone who's interested, you might reread the planning objectives behind this.
And also, we went through that entire process of updating the master plan, and that included a lot of community involvement, so I think we got a really good picture. Not everybody's going to agree with it, but we got a really good picture of what, as a whole, the community wants to see our village become and continue to move in a particular direction. And this zoning text amendment implements, just for really, like you said, a limited area, but some of the, the basic zoning changes that will hopefully help to encourage the type of development and change that is good for the village, without really beating up on the quaint community sort of aura that we have, why people love Pleasantville. And we want to keep it that way, why we love Pleasantville, but there are things that can be improved. And to me, to me, this is all about helping to improve. And I know that the village board, we are also making a commitment in other areas to do other things that have nothing to do with zoning, but to help improve the quality of life for our residents here. And we'll just continue to do that, but that's really the purpose of this zoning text amendment.
I'll just add that I think that sometimes the vocabulary can be the problem. The word development, for example, the word zoning, those can be sort of loaded terms and are perhaps not the best way to sell a motion like this one. And so a couple of things that I underscored were we want the downtown of Pleasantville to be a vibrant place where there's foot traffic, where there are interesting places to go, where, like Joe Stargiotti said earlier, you know, when your spouse comes home from the city, if that's what's happening, they will call you and say, let's meet at this restaurant. And another advantage is having a stronger commercial base that helps offset the tax burden so that less of it falls on the residential. But we are all very invested in the friendly, you know, small-scale village that we know and love. And so I just wanted to make it clear to everyone that we are aware of that, and so we are moving cautiously and thoughtfly in this process.
I'd also like to say, I think that everybody who sits on this board is aware that the board is fluid. You know, people come and people go, and, you know, in a lot of ways, when we put in changes to a master plan, it's a roadmap. It tells us where we were, and it gives the possibility of where we can go, and it just lets, I think, the people that come after us know that there was a lot of thought given to something, and what the people of the time, I mean, if we look at our last master plan, it was quite a ways back, what was going on then? So I think it doesn't say what will happen, it just talks about what's possible and what's been thought about. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
All true. So it's, as Nicole said, the vocabulary matters somehow. When you get down to the actual text amendment, government does a fantastically good job of making something good sound
terrible.
like a trial.
Exactly.
But this trial is a very happy result. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 161, Joe.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village clerk to notice a public hearing for Monday, October 9th, 2017 at 8:00 p.m. prevailing time to hear comments as it pertains to a proposed amendment to Chapter 173, Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule 172-60, Schedule Roman numeral 12, Parking Prohibited at all times as follows. And that would be to delete the provision on Guyon Street North Side, deleting no parking from the dead end to a point 40 feet east of the intersection of Academy Street, and also deleting on Guyon Street on the north side the provision for no parking from a point 30 feet west of the intersection of Grandview Avenue. And adding, so I suppose replacing those two sections with a new provision on Guyon Street on the north side prohibiting parking at all times for the entire length from the intersection of Grandview Drive to Academy Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
So, public hearing to discuss this. This is the result of concerns in the neighborhood, Patty?
Concerns in the neighborhood, that portion of Guyon Street is not built, you know, to a reasonable standard. It's very narrow. And currently, parking is permitted on both sides, just for a short distance. And when that occurs, you can't get through. So, thank you, Shane, I'm sorry. So, this portion of Guyon Street is very narrow. It's paved width about anywhere from 18 to 21 feet. And if cars are parked on both sides, there's just no way to pass. So we've been seeing, for the last several weeks, significant problems in that area. The residents have called and asked for relief. They've asked for some parking restrictions to be put in place. So we have some temporary restrictions in place right now prohibiting parking on this northern side of the road, and we'd like to put that into the code as a permanent parking restriction.
That's just a one block, if I recall correctly, that's a one block residential street between Grandview and Academy on the north side of Manville Road.
Yes.
On the other side of the road from Bedford Road School.
Right, there are two
It's a
parts
little
to
one.
Guyon Street, you're right. This
Yeah.
is north well, it's west of Manville Road. It's up in the hill. It's not Guyon between Bedford.
West,
and
yeah, I said north, but you're right, it's west of Manville Road, right, west. But right, it's up on the hill, it's a little residential street.
So we'll send
one block.
notices out to the neighbors, inviting them to come in to comment, but we really need to do something here.
All right,
Okay.
public hearing posted by this resolution for Monday, October 9 at 8. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 162. Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees, based upon recommendation of the village DPW Superintendent Engineer, hereby authorizes the mayor to accept the conveyance of land located at the intersection of Bedford Road and Tompkins Avenue to enable widening that intersection. And be it further resolved, in accordance with findings pursuant to SECRA, the proposed action will not have an adverse environmental impact.
Is there a second?
Second.
So, the property in question is directly across Bedford Road from Holy Innocents Church. The Borg House, which is on the corner, it has a couple of healthcare providers who operate from that house. If you walk by there, you're well aware of the fact that it's a little more than a 90-degree turn for cars and trucks coming up Bedford Road. There are quite a few trucks that do have to make that turn in order to get down Tompkins. And the stone wall at that corner has been struck by trucks many times. The property owner and Jeff Econom have taken a look at this and believe that the corner should be softened, which means moving the sidewalk closer to the property owner's property and reducing the point of the intersection at that point. Property owner is conveying the property to us without charge in exchange for us making this improvement, cutting off the stone wall in a slightly different place. And then this will entail removing the 2 trees that are in that area, both of which are up in years and are showing signs of trouble, and we will then replace them with 2 new trees. Have I got all that right, Patty?
You did great, thank you. That's it.
When would we do that?
As soon as possible. We're working with Jackie Martineau now, she's counsel for the boards, drawing up the conveyance.
Okay.
But we'd like to get it done before Con Edison paves back the portions of Tompkins that they've ripped up all
That they've-
some of that.
Right.
We'll be on this quickly.
And just to be clear, we're not losing any sidewalk there. I have a hard time.
No, what'll end up
Telling-
happening, though,
Yeah.
the pedestrian experience will change a little bit. The crosswalk will be longer.
Okay.
There'll be a wider.
Right.
A wider throat to Tompkins now, but not, just by a few feet.
Okay.
This is a bit of a problematic intersection, and in fact, if you go back to this interesting page in our master plan that shows the frequency of accidents, this is one of our more accident-prone intersections, the corner of Tompkins and Bedford Road, right there, diagonally opposite Holy Innocents Church and 427 Bedford Road. So a shout out to be careful in that area. One of the reasons it's a problematic intersection has been this hairpin turn that is now going to be eased somewhat. That said, it still remains a complicated
tight.
place. So,
It's not
right.
very
So,
wide.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Aye.
approved. Steve, 163.
Okay, so whereas local governments have either direct control or a strong influence on most of the state's greenhouse gas emission sources, including buildings, transportation, land use, and community services, so local action is critical to reducing heat trapping emission. And whereas locally the county of Westchester, and a long list of cities and towns and villages, but shall I read them?
No, just put it in the record.
In there, as reflected in the record, there's a lot of our fellow villages and towns around here that have signed on to what I'm about to read. And whereas formally adopting the Climate Smart Communities Pledge as a municipal resolution initiates a community's commitment to GHG emission reduction and climate adaptation, and further resolved that the Village of Pleasantville, in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, adopts the New York State Climate Smart Communities Pledge, which comprises of the following 10 elements: pledge to be a climate-smart community, set goals, inventory emissions, and plan for climate action, decrease community energy use, increase community use of renewable energy, realize benefits of recycling and other climate-smart solid waste management practices, reduce greenhouse gas emissions through the use of climate-smart land use tools, enhance community resilience and prepare for the effects of climate change, support development of a green innovation economy, inform and inspire the public, and commit to an evolving process of climate action.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have been assisted in this venture by the folks over at PACE in a really, really much appreciated example of the benefits of living in a community with a college. Michelle Land is a professor in the Department of Environmental Studies and Science and director of a bunch of different things. She and some PACE students are going to assist us in this venture.
Yeah, we have them here this evening, Mr. Mayor. I think you may recall meeting Andrew Welsh and Nicole Verdona. They're both graduate students pursuing degrees in environmental policy. So I'm delighted to be working with them and with the university under the guidance of Professor Land. We'll have a staff meeting tomorrow morning where they will be introduced to our key department heads.
Great.
To start kicking off this process so everybody has an understanding of what roles will have to be played and how we're going to go about moving forward with the ultimate goal of being certified by December 2018.
Okay,
So
great.
I'd like to invite Andrew and Nicole up just to reintroduce themselves to our community, if you don't mind, and perhaps just would like to add a few words to what the board is about to act upon tonight.
So hello again, Andrew Welch. We presented in front of you all in April, and we're excited to be back here tonight. Working with Ms. Dwyer has been excellent, and we look forward to working with the rest of the Village of Pleasantville throughout the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm also in the Masters of Environmental Policy program at PACE. We're really excited to help you guys go through this process. I went to undergraduate at PACE as well, and I was a resident at the dorms. So I've been part of this community for a little over 4 years now. So I'm really excited to see how the community reacts and what initiatives they want to implement.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, we're delighted to have your assistance and welcome you to the Village of Pleasantville government. So that's great.
Professor
And
Land,
Misha?
anything you'd like to add? Please.
Good evening. We just think this is really a perfect relationship, partnership, because we feel part of the community of Pleasantville, and we have eager students who are also have expertise in this area, so we're very lucky to be able to leverage Nicole and Andrew's enthusiasm as well as their knowledge and skill. And we're very dedicated to seeing this to its fruition and making Pleasantville successful in the certification process. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Likewise, it's just a very happy story, and PACE has been beneficial to us in so many ways, but really nice to deepen that relationship. Opportunity also to offer our congratulations to PACE and to its new president, Marvin Krislov, who comes to PACE from Oberlin, if I've got that right, and who is on the job now, but will be officially inaugurated at a ceremony in late October, which takes place here on the Pleasantville campus. Of course, it's our view that despite the wonderful things that must go on in Manhattan, most of the really great stuff happens here anyway. Thank you, you guys. We really do appreciate it, and we appreciate being pushed in ways that we want to be pushed in order to make this a more progressive and more sustainable place. So thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. You're in. You're in the harness. Thank you.
Thank you.
164, Colleen.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments. Increase revenue and expense from the general fund, $31,000 from fees. Music Festival is moving over to $4,000 for festival overtime and $27,000 for festival contractual.
Is there a second?
Second.
Patty, a happy report, a very successful festival.
Yes, I mean, this is just raising our budget to reflect the increased revenue and additional expense, but we believe at this point in time, with our numbers in, we are close to a $50,000 profit.
To the village.
So,
To the village.
So just to be clear here, our goal in all of this is to be successful some years, as we were very much successful this year, so that we, in essence, can self-insure against a rain event. So
Correct.
early in the years of the music festival, we bought rain insurance. That was a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 premium for coverage that was extremely limited. And in the end, we opted instead to try to self-insure. It's been a little bit of an uphill battle to get there, to the point where we felt like we had, over the life of the festival, enough of a nest egg that we could weather a loss that might come our way, which will never happen. Thank you to the meteorological department, Trustee
Weather
Lord.
guys are working overtime.
We've had a couple of close calls, and
Sure have.
Oh,
the
we
gods have smiled upon us. So,
it was
but anyway,
fun last
long
year.
story short is the surplus we produced this year is a surplus that protects our Pleasantville taxpayer from the potential risk of a loss if we had a weather event. I can tell you that Bruce Figler, the executive director, and the cast of characters he had assisting him, Andy Goodman, director emeritus and right-hand man, and a whole slew of other people. Scott Campbell, I mean, I'm going to start naming names and leave people out. It's just not fair. So a whole bunch of people delivered a really extraordinary day, as they have in the past, but every year they stand on the shoulders of the year before and reach higher, and I just can't tell you not only what a good time so many people had, but what an extraordinarily good light it cast this village in the region. A whole lot of people have said to me, holy cow, that is one impressive thing for a community of your size to pull off. And the karma of it, the quality of it, the professionalism of it are all testimony to the 200 or so volunteers that make that engine run. So thank you to all of that. All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. That is the last of our agenda items. Anybody have anything in the category of new business or a further announcement?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into executive session on the candidate search for deputy treasurer?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
approved. We're headed into executive session. We'll see you on October 9th. Thank you for your attention. We look forward to seeing you soon. Good night.